Welcome to the deep dive. We've gathered a really interesting set of sources today. They all give us these different angles on the crypto market, but from just one day, June 11th, 2025.
Right, like snapshots in time.
Exactly. And our goal isn't just, listing what they say. We want to dig in, find the key takeaways, and maybe see what the combination of these snapshots tells us about crypto on that particular day.
Yeah, are we seeing trends converging? Or maybe conflicting signals?
Is it leaning more mainstream, more regulated? Or is that classic tension still there, between the suits, the tech, the speculators?
Think of it like looking through different windows into the same room all at the same moment. One shows price charts, another tech updates, another policy debates.
And we're here to help you piece together what that whole room looked like based on those glimpses.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's jump right in. First up, some pretty striking predictions about price.
Always grabs the headlines.
For sure. So, one source. This one's from BitcoinInfoNews.com via CoinMarketCap. It reports Bernstein's prediction. They're targeting $200,000 for Bitcoin by 2025.
Okay.
But the key word here, and it's right in the headline, is conservative. They're calling $200K conservative. That definitely caught my eye.
It absolutely does, because calling that number conservative, well, it suggests maybe the baseline expectation, at least among some traditional analysts, has shifted upwards quite a bit.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is how that stacks up against another view from the same day.
Right. So another source, this one via Cointelegraph, quotes Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy.
Yeah.
He's predictably maybe even more bullish.
He usually is.
He rejects the idea of a crypto winter, says
Yeah.
Bitcoin's past that phase, and then he goes further, says he believes it could hit $1 million.
Wow. Okay, so same day. June 11th, you've got professional analysts putting out $200 as a conservative floor, and a major Bitcoin advocate like Saylor talking seven figures.
The re-range.
It really is. It makes you wonder, what are the underlying factors driving these views? They're both optimistic generally, but wow, such different scales. What does that tell us about the perceived possibilities on that day?
That's a great question. And, speaking of factors that might be driving things, ETFs come up quite a bit in these sources.
Ah, yes, the ETF effect. Still a major theme.
Definitely. The Bernstein source, the one with the $200K prediction,
Yeah.
its title mentions Bitcoin ETFs.
Right.
But then another source, this one via CoinCo. This gets really interesting. It talks about Bloomberg ETF analysts. And they're suggesting the US SEC might approve altcoin-based ETFs.
Altcoins, okay, not just Bitcoin.
Right. And maybe as early as next month. Now, just quickly, for anyone maybe less familiar, an ETF, that's an exchange-traded fund, lets you invest in something like Bitcoin or gold through your normal broker without actually holding the asset.
Yeah.
So altcoin ETFs, that's kind of the next step, potentially.
Precisely. It would basically open up the traditional investment world to a wider range of crypto assets beyond just Bitcoin. And this source actually gets quite specific, doesn't it? It mentions one altcoin in particular.
It does. It quotes Eric Balchunas saying, a Solana ETF, it has a 90% shot.
90%. That's high confidence.
Very high.
So if you connect the dots here, you've got talk of altcoin ETFs potentially getting the green light very soon, maybe next month. And Solana specifically highlighted with this 90% probability. It leads that source to ask, are we heading into an altcoin summer?
Right. That phrase definitely signals anticipation.
Yeah, it suggests market watchers on June 11th were thinking, okay, maybe the momentum spreads out from Bitcoin, maybe driven by these potential new products.
Okay, so let's shift gears slightly. Beyond the big market moves and these potential financial products, the sources also give us these useful little glimpses into specific projects.
Yeah.
The tech development.
Yeah, the building blocks.
Exactly. So one source, via Crypto Potato News, this one talks about Ripple's XRPL, the XRP ledger.
Okay, Ripple.
Yeah. It's focused on when the XRPL EVM-compatible sidechain will launch. Now, EVM, that's the Ethereum virtual machine. Making a sidechain compatible means it can basically run applications built for Ethereum, which is, huge.
Right. It's all about interoperability. The source highlights this, saying the sidechain is expected to be the most effective tool for bringing lots of new users and projects into the XRP ecosystem.
Makes sense.
Essentially, by being EVM compatible, they're tapping into this huge existing pool of developers and tools from the Ethereum world. It makes it way easier for people to build on or move to XRPL using stuff they already know. So it's about expanding reach and capability for an established network.
So development within existing ecosystems.
Yeah.
Then, kind of on the other end of the spectrum, there's this headline via CFN. It mentions the token called Arctic Pablo.
Haven't heard of that one.
Me neither. But it mentions it heading to 0.008, calls it the best crypto to invest. But importantly, the article title itself adds some caution. It says traders are stuck trying to separate hype from actual opportunity among all the thousands of tokens out there.
And that's a really important counterpoint, isn't it? Because
Oh, yeah.
alongside the big names and the institutional moves, this constant search for the next big thing, often with these very specific low price targets, that's still a huge part of the market activity.
Definitely.
And the sources themselves acknowledge, look, it's tough out there, separating the real potential from just, well, hype. That's the ongoing challenge.
Absolutely. Okay, so moving from like the project level and the hype cycle, the sources also touch on actual real-world use, things happening now, and how regulators are reacting.
Adoption and regulation, always intertwined.
Seems like it. So a source from Cryptocurrency Press, it reports that the video platform Rumble is integrating Bitcoin Lightning for creator payments.
Okay, Rumble using Lightning.
Yeah. And Lightning, that's the layer 2 on Bitcoin, right? Makes transactions faster and cheaper. Good for, smaller payments like tipping creators.
And the source frames this as a move towards mainstream crypto adoption. It's a concrete example, isn't it? A known platform using crypto for a specific purpose, paying people.
Not just speculation, actual utility.
Exactly, active use.
And then inevitably, there's the policy side. A SAS via Crypto Newsland reports the Bank of Korea governor planning to meet bank chiefs about a stablecoin policy shift.
Stablecoins. Always a hot topic for central banks.
Seems so. This source gives some detail, says the meeting is specifically about stablecoin risks and how they might affect, control over the financial system.
Right, because stablecoins aim for stability, often pegged to fiat like the won or the dollar, but how they achieve that stability and what happens if they get really big, that makes central bankers nervous.
Understandably. The source also mentions a potential new law in Korea that might let fintech firms issue won-based stablecoins.
Which the central bank is apparently concerned about.
Yeah. It really highlights regulators actively trying to figure out where these digital assets fit, what rules are needed, what the risks are, especially around stablecoins.
It's a clear snapshot of that ongoing negotiation between innovation and regulation.
So let's try and pull this all together. We're looking at sources from just one day, June 11, 2025. We've seen bold Bitcoin price predictions, some called conservative, others reaching for the moon. We've seen real buzz around potential altcoin ETFs, like for Solana.
Yeah, that 90% number.
Specific tech upgrades like Ripple, working on EVM compatibility for XRPL.
Building bridges.
Real-world adoption like Rumble, actually using Bitcoin Lightning.
Practical use cases.
And central banks like the Bank of Korea, actively debating stablecoin policy. So what's the picture that emerges from all this?
Well, I think the picture on that specific day is one of dynamism. Intense dynamism, really. The crypto space seems to be firing on all cylinders, so to speak. You've got the speculative energy, clearly, with those price targets. You have traditional finance continuing to build on-ramps, like exploring more ETFs. You have the underlying tech still evolving in significant ways, like the XRPL example.
Right.
And importantly, real-world usage is growing enough to grab headlines and, crucially, to force regulators to engage more seriously and specifically, like with stablecoins. It's not just one thing happening, it's all happening at once.
It does feel like that. Like it's trying to mature into this, recognized asset class that plays nice with traditional finance. While at the same time, the core tech keeps racing ahead, new use cases pop up, and all of this is happening under this increasingly watchful eye of regulators worldwide.
That tension you mentioned earlier between the innovation and the need for structure, maybe, that seems really evident across these different pieces from June 11th.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to recap the key points we pulled out, Bernstein's $200K conservative Bitcoin call, Saylor's $1 revision, the potential for altcoin ETFs, maybe Solana soon.
Ripple's EVM sidechain work.
Rumble using Lightning payments, and the Bank of Korea's stablecoin talks.
Each one is a data point, but together they give you a much richer, more nuanced feel for the state of play on that day than any single headline could. It's complex.
It really is. So thinking about this complex picture from just one day, this mix of finance, tech, adoption, regulation, all interacting, how does seeing this constant churn, this evolution, shape your perspective on where crypto might be heading? What does this blend of news make you consider about the key forces shaping the space right now?